I believe I would answer that in saying that as we look at moratorium bills and we look at not expanding more casinos within the state of Iowa, we thought, and I thought, and some of my committee members here thought, that having an e-gaming situation would actually look more upon as an expansion of gambling in the state of Iowa, and we didn't believe that it belonged in this particular bill and thought that it should be of a grander conversation in a separate bill and in a separate situation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other conversation on Amendment 110 to Senate Study Bill 1069? Seeing none, Senator Webster, you're in order for closing comments on the amendment.
I simply move the amendment.
Senator Webster moves the amendment. Senator Weiner, how do you wish to vote on the amendment? Short form has been requested. All those in favor of advancing Amendment 110 to Senate Study Bill 1069 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The amendment is approved. Now we're back on Senate Study Bill 1069 as amended. Are there any conversations amongst the committee on Senate Study Bill 1069 as amended? Senator Kornbach.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill limits free market competition. And speaking as a professional economist with 47 years of experience, I object to that. There are some things that free markets don't do very well, like dealing with environmental pollution. But by and large, free markets do provide good products, and it's driven principally by the incentives of competition. This is especially true when there is entry available into a market. Okay? If you have a restaurant on Main Street in your hometown and they're doing well, another restaurateur comes along, wants to open a second restaurant. They're not prohibited from doing that. Yes, the second restaurant may take some business away from the first, okay? But that gives the first restaurant, actually both restaurants, incentives to improve their product, to improve their menu, to improve their service, to improve their ambiance, and to keep their costs down. Same thing with a hardware store. If there's one hardware store, that's fine. Another one comes along. Could it take business away from the first? Yes, it could. But that would create incentive for both to improve their product and service and to keep their prices down. So I don't have any idea why we should limit entry into the casino market. All the people who spend so much time praising free markets, who I suspect will turn around and vote in favor of this bill, I think you have a little bit of intellectual inconsistency that you need to explain. I'm a no on this bill.
Thank you, Senator. Any other discussion on Senate Study Bill 1069 as amended? Senator Walz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Webster, would you yield?
Senator Webster, will you yield?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Senator. I'm, just curious, can you share with the body kind of your view on what the role of the Racing and Gaming Commission is if this passes into law? I mean, we have a commission that exists to evaluate, make these decisions. This bill would essentially be the legislature telling the commission to not do its job for 6 years. Like, what's the point of the commission if this passes into law?
I think the point is the second part of the bill, and I think it's a point that's very well taken in many situations, that we do have boards that are appointed by the governor in this particular case, and all over within government. We can go to the building code board. We can go to many other situations. I believe that they should have basic policies set by policyholders, policy handlers, which is the legislature in this particular case, basic rules in order to function in their position as having a board. I believe the second part of this bill is the part that sets out those particular ideas and those particular policies that they should have directive for. That's what I believe the Racing and Gaming Commission will function and how it will function in the future.
Thank you, Senator. I'll echo my colleague, Senator Cornbach. I'm going to be a no today. Look, we have a Racing and Gaming Commission specifically for the purpose of making these kinds of decisions. And what it seems like is this is the legislature putting its thumb on the scale and saying, we're going to tell you no new licenses for the next 6 years. And look, I fully expect we're going to be right back here in 2029 or 2020 or 2030 having a similar conversation. And so Mr. Chair, if this passes, we should have a conversation about ending the Racing and Gaming Commission, entirely. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Walls. Any other conversation or comments on Senate Study Bill 1069? Anybody else wish to speak to it? Seeing none, Senator Webster, you are in order for closing comments on Senate Study Bill 1069 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I always take the beginning part to mention some of the questions that come up within a bill. And I don't say that at points in time in this conversation that free markets didn't come up, but saying that the casino market is a free market is equivalent to saying that the power industry within Iowa is a free market. It is heavily regulated, heavily regulated. We tell them exactly how they're going to act, how they're going to do, what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, all the time. It is not a free market as it sits. So looking forward as calling this an interruption of free markets when it's not a free market is interesting at the least. The idea that we have the Racing and Gaming Commission is a good idea. Senator Walls brought that up. But we need to give guidelines and guardrails for those particular commissions in order to make sure that they're following the policies set out by the legislature overall. We can't just give a quasi-board the availability to do anything and everything. Everybody talks about this particular bill being about a casino in Cedar Rapids. It's not. It's about casinos in Iowa overall. If one casino goes in, we could have 40 more tomorrow. It will be very hard to turn down casinos in the future without putting some sort of guardrails and expectations of policy, which we come here and we've been elected by 60-some thousand people to make policy for the state. This particular bill has given us an opportunity to make that policy, set some guardrails for that particular committee, and allow them in the future to follow those guardrails. And I think that is what we should do as policyholders or makers within the state. This is not just about one casino. One casino is on everybody's mind right now because it's out there. When we talk about that particular casino, that casino was going to be built where it's at. It got turned down twice. And in response, it got built 30 miles down the road, roughly. It's not very far to get there. We're talking about expanding casinos in Iowa in areas where there's been a lot of expansion. We've changed a lot of things. We've gone from boats that had to cruise to boats that could sit alongside the river to now land-based casinos. At one point in time, they had to be on a bladder of water. Now all of a sudden they can be anywhere and everywhere. If we think that one casino is the question on this bill, I think we are definitely wrong. This is about casinos throughout the state of Iowa. This is about setting guardrails and setting policy for how that casino expansion happens in our state before it just rapidly takes off at a pace out of anybody's control completely. You want to talk about putting the thumb on the scale? I guarantee you if 30 casinos start coming into the state of Iowa and everybody's community that's in here, the thumb will start getting put on the scale and it'll be wrong. We should do it before we get to expansion. That's why I think we need to have this conversation. We need to have this conversation quickly. We need to have this bill in some form move forward. With that said, I move Senate Study Bill 1069 as amended.
Senator Weiner, how would you like to vote?
Roll call, please.
Roll call has been requested. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Webb.
Aye.
bill passes, moves onto the calendar under Rule 40. With that, I will turn the chair back over to Senator Webster.
With no further business, moves we adjourn.